Hi everyone, my name is Rizwan and I am one of the senior consultants with Alif Consulting. And today we are going to talk about the mailbox permissions. I hope everyone, you guys are doing well and doing good. So in our last session, we have covered are what is a mailbox and what are different type of mailboxes, which included user mailbox, shared mailbox, resource room mailbox, and this time we are going to cover as if what are the different level of permissions or what are different types of permissions through one type or content of a mailbox can be accessed by the other type. So quickly talking to the topic, yes, mailbox permissions, and it talks about permissions. Why permissions? What is the requirement of a permissions and why do we require permissions? So in simple context, what it means is that the very first context would be to be able to access the resources or the content for some other mailbox. Let's say for a common purpose would be a shared mailbox, wherein it would be an occupied mailbox being having permissions of multiple objects so that multiple people can have an access to it. This could be one of the reason for a permission. The second could be for some sanity checks which is being done on regular intervals for mailboxes. Third one would be from investigation point of view. So let's say if the higher management authority is being asking us to be able to get some investigation done under the all the compliance and regulatory operations. So yes, being an exchange administrator or a global administrator in cloud, definitely you can go ahead and get the permission. So with the help of it, we would be easily able to isolate the issue, and that would help a lot to be able to function the investigation in a proper channel and a proper manner. So we'll see how many permissions do we have. So when it comes to Office 365's mailbox handling, we usually do not have more permission hierarchies or level on user mailbox, or it's simply on a mailbox, not a user, sorry, just on a mailbox. So when it comes to mailbox, yes, you can check that you have full access permission. What this means is that if you are going to assign this permission to any of the user or on the identity or the object, so on whichever mailboxes we are aligning this permission, so that mailbox would be accessible to whom which we would be aligning the permissions. And how it would be accessible, the word itself says full access. So you would be the person who would be assigning the permissions, uh, would be aligning or would be assigning that person that he or she may have the full access on the mailbox. Okay, so by getting this access, one would easily be accessing the mailbox and all the contents, including the emails, the tasks, the notes, the calendars, the meetings, the invites, and everything. So whenever you would be aligning these kinds of permissions specifically on a user to user mailbox, let's say you have two users in your organization, user John and user Mark, and if Mark says that, I want to have access on John's mailbox, so probably we need to go to portal and go to John's mailbox. That would be considered as an identity, and on John's mailbox we would be adding Mark as a delegate so that Mark would be able to access John's mailbox. But keep one thing in mind, that anything he would be doing, there would he would be having the full access, meaning he'd also be able to edit those mails, documents, contents, sorry, not documents, meetings, and other contents of a mailbox, and would it also be able to delete it. So be very specific when you give these kinds of permissions, specifically on a user to user mailbox. For shared mailbox, there is no other way, meaning that if you want to access some shared mailbox, so it is a prerequisite that yes, you need to give full access permission on that shared mailbox so that the user would be trying to access that shared mailbox gets the complete access and use the mailbox in full access permission view. Okay, so from accessing point of view, we only have this permission. There is no such thing called as full access permission or partial access or half access. Either you would be having the complete access or you would be having no access. So from accesses point of view, you only have full access permission. Now the other two are being broadly categorized into for sending emails, meaning if you would be giving a mailbox to be able to send emails on your behalf or directly as him, you would need to get these permissions. But keep one thing in mind: if you would be accessing, if you would be adding full access permissions, and if you think that adding full access permission would also be allowing you to be able to send emails on either his behalf or directly as him, would not be possible, because these are separate permissions. These two are separate identities and it has nothing to do with each other. So yes, if you just need to have access permissions, you can go with full access. But let's say if you want to send emails using as him or her, then you need to access any of these two below permissions. Meaning that, let's say I again have a user called as John and Mark, and if Mark wants that he should be able to send emails seeing as John. Okay, so what Mark is going to do, or ask his administrator to do, is he needs to go to John's mailbox's identity on the portal or even through PowerShell, and he would be adding Mark either as send as permission or send on behalf permission. Now, what does send as means? If Mark is added as send as permissions for John's mailbox, so the actual sender would be Mark. So Mark would actually be sending the email, but whenever the recipient receiving that email, he would think that the email is actually being sent from John and it is not being sent by Mark. However, the actual sender is Mark and not John. Similarly, the send on behalf permissions would act as, it would be more or less the similar. The actual sender would still be Mark, but when the recipient receives that email, whether he is an internal recipient or an external recipient like Yahoo, Google, Gmail, or any such third party vendor itself, it would be displaying a tip on the head of the mailbox stating that this mailbox is sent to you by Mark on behalf of John. So this is the difference, meaning that sent on behalf would specifically be displaying the tip, and it would be pretty simpler for the recipient to be able to understand that the email is sent from John's mailbox, but the sender is not John, but it is Mark. So this is what. But if you would do the same with send as permission, the email would be sent by Mark, but it would be sent through John's mailbox, and the recipient would not be able to make it out whether it is being sent by John or by someone else. I'm sorry, whether it is being said by Mark or someone else, because for him the display name would still be displayed for John. So this is all about permissions within Office 365, and I can show you now with the help of the graphical user interface on the tenant, and also with the PowerShell, as of how to check that. So considering this example, first of all, as I've said, that Microsoft usually do not recommends to give a delegate permission on a user mailbox for a different user. But for some compliance permissions, if it is necessary, you can give that. You see, full access, mine is blank. So if I would be adding any one of this user by clicking on this plus sign, you'd see all these users except this, because this one itself is now selected. So if you would see all these, you see I can still see my name, but that is like a nullify value. So if I would be adding any one of it, these people would be able to access my mailbox. Why? Because I myself is allowing them to be able to access my mailbox. Okay, so this is similarly done here in mailbox delegation. If you see full access, so whoever person is added here, they'd be able to access this shared mailbox. Whoever person is added here, the description itself says allows you to delegate email from a shared mailbox. So by default there is no one added in over here. So if I would be entering or mentioning any name here in send as box over here, so yes, I would be able to get in this permissions aligned, and the person would easily be able to send email using his behalf. And if you need to check, by default you would not see send on behalf on a shared mailbox, but yes, you can easily get it done using PowerShell. So if you would see for a room mailbox as a delegate, because they both are having the recipient type as user mailbox, so you see send as, send on behalf, and then full access. Okay, so you can give these permissions either using GUI, the graphical user interface, or through PowerShell. So let's say now if you would see here the mailbox delegation, so this full access is being given to these two people, Rizwan Nuri and Rizwan Patel. We are going to quickly check this with the help of the PowerShell window. So I'm already connected to my session. So if you say the command is get hyphen mailbox permission hyphen identity. So I want to check that on shared mailbox which user has the permission. Okay, so I'm going to mention this shared mailbox's address and not the user. So it would be shared mailbox sys email address, and it would be a pipe because I know who would be the person. Or let's say we'll not do anything, we'll just make a normal switch of this. And if you see, so this is my mailbox, okay, the user mailbox, not the shared mailbox, so it does not have any permissions. However, if I would be entering shared mailbox now, you see, so these many are the people who are actually trying to get access to those mailboxes. You see, Rizwanuri. So you see, these permissions have been aligned from a non-Microsoft ID. I do see this as an default permissions getting in an aligned. And it would also be showing you the inheritance and inheritance over here, that is simply related with auto mapping, meaning whenever you would be giving permissions to graphical user interface or using the permission command add hyphen mailbox permission, by default that mailbox, this mailbox would be automatically added onto your Outlook desktop client. So along with your primary mailbox, you would also see this mailbox. This is called as auto mapping. Okay, and if you need to remove that, yes, you can also do that by removing the auto map switch to remove hyphen auto mapping dollar false, and automatically this mailbox would no longer be attached with your primary mailbox. So this comes through when the inheritance permission over here needs to be checked. Okay, so this is all for the session when it comes to permissions with full access, send as, and send on behalf permissions. And that would be all from my side for this session. If you would be having any such questions for me that needs to be answered for yourself with regards or with perspective with this session, feel free to contact me and I would be more than happy enough to help you on it. That is all from my session, my end. And this is also the email address in case if you guys needs to contact us, you can easily get it you can easily get it done. Thank you for listening to this video, and that is it. You take care of yourself and you stay safe. Bye bye.